Welcome back, everybody. It's your time to Ed Up on the Ed Up Experience podcast, where we make education your business. And as I have said, by the way, this is Dr. Joe Solucio back with another episode again and again and again. We'll never stop because Elvin Freitas, co-founder here at the Ed Up Experience, would never let me stop. Even if I decided I want to, he'll book me out till the end of time. But as you know, and I've said before, Ed Up will travel. I am on the road today in my hotel room. And I was bringing my guest, who I'll introduce here in a moment, on, and I'm like, oh, God, I got to put a blur on my background. I'm traveling. It's horrible. I don't want to, be like, oh, yeah, I'm in my hotel room, and then come to find out that she's also in her hotel room traveling. So we're just doing this on the road. It's like the Ed Up Experience road show. The one thing that I can tell you for sure is that the content will be just as good if we were in our homes. We're all virtual in different ways. We all have to lead virtually. We have to talk to people virtually, and we have to run institutions. So we have to run institutions no matter where we are. The students don't stop for us. We have to serve them until, well, that's what we do, right? That's what we do in higher education. That's why we do what we do, and that's why the Ed Up Experience is here to highlight institutions doing great work in the industry. And in particular, I love it when I can come across institutions that are like little babies in terms of higher ed time, right? How you hear the 200-year-old institution, those are like the old guys. But if you get like a higher ed institution that's fairly new, they're ideating and innovating and like scratching and clawing and serving, and you just hear that grittiness that comes with running a newer university. And I'm so honored to have my guest with me here today. I'm going to bring her in right now, and she's going to talk to us about grit and how to run a university these days. Here she is. She's Dr. Susanne Thompson. She's the president at Moreland University. Susanne, welcome to Ed Up Mike. How are you?
I am marvelous, Joe. I am super excited to be here with you. I love your introduction. I love your podcast. And let's get right into it. Let's talk about the amazing things happening in higher ed all around the world.
I've decided now I need to find a marvelous button, or at least maybe I'm going to cut out that little soundbite, and I'm going to put your marvelous on my soundboard, and now for everybody will get a marvelous when I introduce them. But tell us about Moreland University. What type of institution do you lead? Where are you if you have a physical location? What do you do? How do you do it? Give us the whole kind of once over. Ellucian Live is taking place April 6th through 9th, 2025 in Orlando, Florida.
You just made the list!
Get ready for an unforgettable experience at Ellucian Live 2025. Join visionary leaders from institutions worldwide as we dive into groundbreaking ideas, cutting-edge solutions, and transformative best practices that will ignite your passion for innovation. This is your chance to connect, collaborate, and propel your institution into the future. Do not miss out.
Let's go!
We're excited to announce the first of its kind higher education podcast conference, brought to you by Edu Alliance, the Ed Up Experience, and Podium. This is happening Saturday, July 12th at the University of Illinois Chicago campus. This is an in-person event, one day only, the first of its kind. This is for people working in and around higher education who are interested in starting a podcast, who may have a podcast, want to learn more about podcasting. So if you want to be there, please go to higheredpodcon.com. That's higheredpodcon.com to learn how you can get your early bird registration, see who the keynote will be, and how you can submit proposals to be a part of this amazing inaugural conference. So that, again, go to higheredpodcon.com to learn more. Do you want to get exclusive early access to ad-free episodes, extended episodes, bonus episodes, original content, invites to special events, and more? Do you want to accelerate your professional development? Do you want to get all this while helping to sustain EdUp? Then go to edupexperience.com. That's EDUP experience.com and become a subscriber today.
Would love to, Joe. Moreland University is a graduate school. We're a college of education. We are physically located in Washington, D.C. And the best part of what we do at Moreland is we get to focus on educators, school systems, people who are excited about joining the field of education. So our focus is on individuals who might be career changers and are saying, I think I want to give back to my community. I love what teachers are doing in the classroom. We have a certification program that leads directly to a U.S. teaching license. That's a 9-month program. So we'll talk a little bit about the cool innovations on that program in a little bit. We also have master's degrees in education, which allow people to focus more deeply into topics like early childhood education or educational technology or special education. So, Moreland, we also provide a series of professional development offerings, either for our candidates or for the many, many, many schools or systems that we work with. So think of Moreland as a online, asynchronous and synchronous, very engaging model. So our faculty are absolutely stellar practitioners. They focus on making incredible connections with our candidates. They are experts in their field. They're also phenomenal practitioners. So the teachers and the individuals that are enrolling at Moreland are learning from people who are in the field. So their experience when you're a student at Moreland, you're having such a relevant experience. And you're saying, hey, not only have I graduated with a certificate or a degree, I am ready to be in the classroom. I am excited to be in the classroom, and I'm inspired to give back to the community or school that I may be working in.
Amazing.
You know, I talked to when we first got on. I said it's fun to talk to somebody who's running an institution that's a baby in higher ed years. And you guys were founded, I think, in 2011, right? Does that sound right?
You are absolutely right, Joe. And I love the way you framed that. We were founded in 2011 by an amazing woman, Dr. Emily Feistritzer, who is our founder, who is just a dynamo and a dear friend and an amazing thought leader and collaborator. Something I'm actually really grateful for, because we are a newer institution, and to your good point, being scrappy and creative and innovative, we aren't actually carrying some of the traditions that
in some
ways, well, I'm always going to be kind. I'm an educator, so I'm going to be optimistic, and I'm going to be positive.
Good for you. I don't have to be kind. Baggage and bureaucracy.
Absolutely. We get to sort of carve our new pathway. We get to create a journey that maximizes modern thinking about pedagogy, modern thinking about andragogy. We get to maximize technology in a way that is more challenging for organizations or systems that have been around for 100 years. There's lots of wonderful history there, but at the same time, as a newbie to the industry, you have a little bit more freedom, which allows you to feel like you can serve your candidates in an incredible way. And we're really blessed at Moreland that we get to be really creative and really innovative with our programs.
Epic.
I love talking about this because for a couple of reasons. One, I love to hear about the stories of innovation because, you're 14 years old, probably 13 years old going into 2025, and at some point you turn 14, your institution. That's not that long. That's really new. And so you get to create policies as things come up, and you can create them truly with the student at the center if you want to. However, and there's an and, but bureaucracies can spring up pretty fast. The right or wrong policy at the wrong time or the wrong people that get hired, and all of a sudden you fall into those traps, so to speak, where all of a sudden the student isn't at the center. Or all of a sudden, even though you're 14 years old as an institution, somebody says, well, that's the way we've done it here since 2011. You go, no. We're not going to do that. How do you balance the necessity of serving students, the necessity of having policies, at the same time reviewing those policies, maybe or preventing the policy from becoming the judge, jury, and executioner, so to speak, and keeping that flexibility at the heart?
It's such a good question, Joe. And my advice to anyone in any industry that is trying to balance compliance and policy and serving the incredibly important needs of their customer, and at the same time, learning to grow and innovate. First, let's reconcile with the fact that we live on planet Earth, and it is a constantly evolving environment. So we're in a flow of change that we need to embrace. So that's advice level number one relevant to this. Second, think of this world as like a puzzle. So there's new pieces that are added to the puzzle every day. You don't necessarily have the advantage of seeing the picture on the front of the box of the puzzle. So think of it as an opportunity to say, what item has been thrown your way? You can look at that item, whether it's a policy or a compliance issue or a change in regulation or a new technology. You can look at that item as a barrier, or you can look at that item as a tool to leverage effectively to continue serving your students. Something that I am really passionate about is that when a policy changes or when a regulatory element is newly introduced, and at first glance, maybe it feels really arduous, maybe it feels really cumbersome. My first inclination is to pick up the phone and contact the people who've worked on that piece of regulation. Understand their point of view, understand the perspective. Why did it come about? We are blessed at Moreland to have incredible relationships with state departments of education. I love working with the Office of the State Superintendent for Education in Washington, D.C. They are an incredibly collaborative partner. When you foster those relationships and you develop that sense of human connectedness, what I always find happen, and Joe, this is my 34th year in education. So this is a proof point I've had the pleasure of living over and over and over again. When you reach out to people and you connect and you collaborate and you listen, you're going to find a mutually harmonious path forward. And I've got loads of examples of that. So I think it's about the way you frame your environment. And you can, like I said, you can look at these items as onerous or challenging or looking at them as roadblocks, or you can look at them as opportunities to say, is there something in here that could be good for us? Is there something in here that could be good for our candidates? Let me pick up the phone. Let me collaborate with the organizers. And in my experience, we always find ways forward to keep our students and our faculty. In my mind, our students and our faculty are primary drivers of the excellence in the work that we do. We are humbled by the quality of people that apply to Moreland, and I could not be more proud of the incredible work that our faculty does. So I think it's about your mindset, and I think it's about embracing all the tools, the resources, and it's about picking up a phone and recognizing I don't have all the answers in my head, but I know I can find people who I can collaborate with, and we can find a pathway forward. We can find a solution. We can make this great if we talk to each other and we connect.
100%.
You know, it's fun. I love the mindset piece here as you're talking about mindset. I was in an exercise at my day job, and we were talking about what you think about. Like, what do you think about when you're outside of work? Like, what are those big issues that you think about, or things that are always going through your mind? Just kind of, it was like an icebreaker. And this one lady, she says, I think a lot about my mindset, and I am working on changing everything from I have to I get to. So, you know, yes, you have this new regulation come down, and instead of saying I have to follow this and, oh my God, it's going to be this and it's going to be that, what a privilege it is to work in higher education. I get to look at this new regulation. I get to think about ways we can use it to enhance the lives of students. I get to maybe work around it in ways for where it's working for me. But it is I have to do this. It comes with this negative feeling when you feel forced to do something, versus always looking at the great privilege we have to work in higher ed, right? This is a noble career that we've chosen. People that work in higher ed that are serving students, and in particular, the students who become teachers. What a privilege, great privilege, because teachers are, and you know, I say this to people all the time, and I don't think there's anybody that doesn't believe that it is one of the hardest jobs to do and the worst paying jobs of all time. It's horrible what we do to teachers in terms of pay. But that mindset changes how you embrace your day, don't you think?
Absolutely. I think that is so well said. And to your good point, Joe, at Moreland, if we're modeling a mindset of positivity, if we're modeling a mindset of being solution seekers, if we're modeling a mindset of embracing parents and embracing our school communities, then guess what? Our graduates do the same thing.
Yes.
I have spent my entire career in the education industry. I have been so privileged. It has brought me joy. It has brought me amazing friends. It has made me smarter. It has made me more capable. I've been able to pay my bills. And it's a mission-driven profession. And there's days when probably anybody in any industry says to themselves, oh, gosh,
Yeah.
let me tell you the power of teachers and let me tell you the power of education. I just got a message on a social media platform from a young woman who is in her early 30s now. She is a mom of a little girl and a wife, and she is a secondary English and ESL teacher.
Mm.
And when I met Emily, Emily was 5 years old and she was in my kindergarten classroom.
No
And
way.
absolutely. And Emily said to me, I have thought of you and kept you in my heart my entire life.
Outstanding.
What I can say back to Emily and to every other child I have had the privilege to work with, and every educator I have had the privilege to work with, they have impacted me so profoundly in such a positive way. I learned way more from my kiddos in my classroom than I probably could ever have taught them. I learned about the joy. I learned about how they saw the world. I learned about how they dealt with struggles that maybe I didn't deal with when I was growing up as a kiddo. I learned from educators who didn't necessarily agree with me, and some of them had a darn good point. I learned from my failures. But the thread that has been consistent through this entire career path is the joy of serving people and the joy of working with people, the joy of unlocking that spirit of curiosity, the joy of helping parents feel confident in their role as parents. And I just think that the work we do as educators, I don't focus on, and yes, you're right, it is a hard job. I haven't met too many people that don't have a hard job. There's
That's
a lot
true.
of hard jobs in this planet. So yeah, education is a
But
hard
being
job.
with kids 24/7 and teaching them is kind of on another level, especially if you have kids and you had them at home during COVID. You have this new profound respect for teachers.
Absolutely. And yes, at some point, I want to be able to give back in another way so that we're starting to see increases in salaries and increases in compensation. That is critical. We have to face that as a country. Even given those elements, Joe, if I were starting my life all over again, I would absolutely be in the industry of education because we're carving a path forward for future humans to thrive and feel successful and feel great about themselves. And I want to be one of those people on planet Earth that's saying, hey, we can continue to do great work. We can find solutions. We can collaborate. We can work together. And I think if you look at education over the course of time, education has often been at the root of communities solving their agricultural challenges, solving their economic challenges, solving their health challenges. When we educate people and allow people to tap into the power of the human brain, there's literally nothing we can't do together.
I like that.
Do you think that the teacher pipeline, let's just talk about that just a minute, because this generation, shortening it to gen, of potential students that are thought about going on to be teachers, the conversation is dominated right now by ROI. You have to have an ROI on this investment, ROI on this investment. You got to be able to make money. And for teachers, that's a harder proposition, right? Because the salaries, because the control around the salaries is tough and budgets and so on. What do you see from the pipeline of teachers? Do you see excitement from people wanting to become teachers? Do you see excitement from people wanting to go into education at a graduate level? is there trepidation? Is there a lot of questions? How is the market? What's the variability in the market that you're seeing? Are you going to miss Ellucian Live this year?
I don't think so.
Exactly. So you might as well register right now at elive.ellucian.com. Ellucian Live 2025, April 6th through 9th in Orlando, Florida. Do not miss it.
Higher Ed PodCon is coming. Go to higheredpodcon.com. That's higheredpodcon.com to learn more. Do you want to get invites to special events? Do you want to get exclusive early access to ad-free episodes, extended episodes, bonus episodes, behind-the-scenes episodes, and original content? Do you want to accelerate your professional development? Well, you can go to edupexperience.com. That's EDUP experience.com and become a subscriber today.
It's a great question, Joe. I obviously, because of what we do at Moreland, we're training teachers and we're training people who have a passion and care for education. So we get to see a lot of excitement. We see a lot of excitement. We see that excitement here in the United States, and we see that excitement in the 165 different countries that we work with educators. And yes, there is trepidation at the same time as well. I think where we focus is on, again, I think it comes back to mindset.
Yeah.
Do you want to focus on all the good about education, or do you want to focus on all the negatives? And if you want to focus on all the negatives, well, then we could focus on the negatives of every career, every industry. We could focus on the negatives of the ROI of every single job you could go into that exists on planet Earth. Here's something that I think a lot of people don't necessarily know about education. So I started my career as an elementary teacher. Then I became an educational specialist focused in an intermediate unit, working with professional development and helping adults. Then I became an assistant principal. Then I became a director of curriculum instruction. Then I started teaching grad classes at night because I love teaching grad classes. Then I started tutoring kids on the side because I loved spending time with kids and helping them unlock the mysteries of their curriculum. Then I became an assistant superintendent and then a superintendent. I think what people don't necessarily realize, there are thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of job opportunities in the education industry. I could be a librarian. I could be an instructional coach. I could be a paraprofessional. I could be a teacher. I could be a department chair. I could go be a curriculum writer for a big textbook publisher. I could go be a content designer or a subject matter expert at a digital content company. There's thousands and thousands and thousands of jobs in the education industry. They're incredible. They're interesting. They provide tremendous ROI. And I think the other dynamic that people really need to consider, and I think young people today are doing a better job than when I was their age of considering this, is there's a lot of financial factors associated with ROI. Their salary is certainly a very important one of them.
Of course, that's all anybody thinks about or talks about too, right?
But my goodness gracious, being an educator, you often are in a system in which you have tremendous benefits. Maybe all of your health care is covered. Maybe all of your graduate school tuition is covered. Maybe you have the ability to have employee assistance. So if you have a family member struggling with a mental health issue, you have a benefit or a service that supports your family. So I think you've got to look at the bigger picture of the ROI. Something that I felt really, really blessed for as a teacher, we often talk about summers off. And summers off, like, wow. Well, summers off, Joe, gave me the opportunity to go to grad school.
You hustled.
Summers off gave me the opportunity to waitress at a local restaurant. Summers off gave me the opportunity to read, to write, to do some curriculum development, to do tutoring of my students, to take time to meet the parents of my kiddos that were coming into my classroom. That's a level of creative freedom to use that time in ways that you can enrich yourself in so many powerful ways. And it's just awesome. Like, it's just an awesome opportunity. So I would encourage anybody, get curious about the industry of education, because the job opportunities are phenomenal. There's so much movement opportunity. If you want to climb a career ladder, if you want to transition to roles horizontally, if you want to shift grade levels, there's so much opportunity to do that. And I think it's often misunderstood or not spoken about, but the opportunities in the education industry to have tremendous ROI and to have your heart filled and to have your cup filled with a mission that's so important for children and parents and communities. I mean, what other career can do that?
That's a fact. That's a fact.
Let's tackle one of the items that can be brought up by individuals as they look at tax status of colleges and universities. Moreland University is designated as a for-profit institution. There are many, and I mean many, people within higher education that believe somehow that for-profit institutions don't have a student's best interest at heart, that they are somehow acting badly even though they aren't, that they have people that are not, bleeding themselves to serve these students. I personally worked in for-profit education for 15 years. I wouldn't change a single thing about it because I learned the business side of higher education. And then when I came to nonprofit higher ed, I looked at how poorly those institutions were being run from a business side. I went, hey, let me take the best of the skills I have from running a highly effective institution that didn't have a nonprofit tax status, but cared about its students day and night and day. And that's just what we did. And we didn't have a lot of those bureaucracies that lived in nonprofit higher ed. And we moved faster, and then combine those skills with the best of what a nonprofit can offer. And you take the best of both worlds, and it doesn't matter what kind of institution that you work in, because every institution is serving certain students that are successful at that institution, or else it wouldn't exist. What do you think about this whole thing? And what do you have to say about it?
Yeah, awesome perspective, Joe. And I love your point about it's a tax status.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. I've spent half of my career in the non-for-profit governmental sector in public education, and I've spent half my career in the for-profit space. Here's what I know. I have learned volumes of valuable lessons from both environments. Both environments, in my experience, serve our students and our constituents extraordinarily well. Here's what I'm really proud of at Moreland because of what we do. I don't think day in and day out about the fact that we're a for-profit institution at all. As a matter of fact, I have many people who say to me, the service you provide is impeccable, because that is what we do. We are here to serve. We're here to provide rigorous, relevant academic programs that meet the needs of the adults involved in our programs and enrolled in our programs today. Our number one goal is about making sure that we are allowing the individuals who we're so privileged to serve, that when they graduate, they are so successful in the classroom, that they feel confident, they feel inspired, they want to stay in the field of education. So, it's really true. I just don't think about our tax status on a day.
You're right. I'm so glad to hear you say that, because I feel that that's right on. There wasn't a day that I worked in the institutions I did where I went, I'm working for a for-profit institution. It was, how many students can I serve today? Like, how do I make a difference? How do I create a legacy for myself and for this institution? How do we graduate more students? The same things I thought, no matter what university I worked for, it was where you worked, and you did it because you cared about education. The university was the vessel for achieving the mission. Yeah,
absolutely well said. I'm also, as a former superintendent of schools, you're a steward of your taxpayer dollars. Yeah. You are watching every penny very cautiously. In my opinion, Nothing changes when you go into a for-profit environment. You are watching every penny very carefully. I'm also really proud of the fact that we keep our tuition very low. We keep our costs very low. We work in innovative, creative ways with partners to find resources to support our students. We provide scholarships for our students. We still watch every penny in the same way that anybody in a public
You're
school.
responsible.
You're
That's called
responsible.
just fiduciary
Absolutely.
responsibility that we all have when we work in an institution, no matter
Absolutely
what kind.
well said. And we have to work within the confines of the resources we have. So we've got to be super creative with those resources. And so I guess the bottom line is, for me, it's about our data. We are enrolling and graduating, twice as many students year over year. We are producing people who are passing their state exams. We are producing people who are thrilled to be in the classroom. We're hearing from building principals that have hired our graduates. The Moreland candidates are some of the most successful candidates in my building. I can tell that your program prepared my educators correctly to embrace the job, the real job. And I am so humbled by that.
That's the ultimate compliment, isn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And when you talk about this too, and I feel like the argument about tax status is always one of convenience, because maybe if you've got an institution out there that has a for-profit tax status that's enrolling everybody in business programs, and there's these ambiguous programs, it's like, oh, you could argue this, argue that. But when you're training teachers, or you're training like airplane mechanics, and there's all sorts of different schools that do things. But so if you get a student who gets a teaching license and certificate and goes in and is a teacher, probably teaching some of the kids in the neighborhood, what do you, I mean, like, there's a hard argument there. Like, we need to pull these teachers out if they graduated from here or there. No, we need more teachers, because AI is changing the game. We need the humanity within teaching and learning. That's something that has to be greatly balanced right now. So any institution that is training teachers, in my book, is like grade A, top of the line, because there's just you're teaching educators. That's the noble and the noble work. So let's talk about the humanity piece for a minute, and how important do you think it is? I have my own view, but and you're the guest here. I don't have to tell you what I think. But artificial intelligence, I was watching, it's an Instagram thing, and it says that kids in this high school or this grade school have AI assistants teaching them all day long, and there's just like some teacher overseeing it. And although that sounds really cool, is that the reality? Do we still need teachers, and do we need that humanity in the classroom to avoid the watering down of education?
So for me, Joe, I love that you brought up the topic of AI, because I think it's a really important topic. It's an important topic for humans on planet Earth.
For all of us. Yeah.
It's an important topic for all of us. So artificial intelligence is a tool we created. It's a tool that humans created, just like billions of other tools that we have created. Now, do I think this is a really compelling tool? Do I think it has the ability to be a game changer in a different way from other tools? 100%. Here's what I get pumped and excited about, Joe. AI is going to push our thinking. AI is going to allow us to be stronger thinkers, harder thinkers. How do we bring the best of our humanity to the table? What things can AI do for us that actually allows us to bring more of our humanity to the table? We use AI all the time in our work. We're using it to create prompts. We're using it to draft materials. We're using it to ask hard questions. I think exploring this tool, and I get to talk to amazing educators all around the world, and they're pumped about using this tool. And yes, absolutely, we need to be responsible. We need to have integrity. We need to be thoughtful. We need to be creative. And yes, do we need policy? Absolutely. But we shouldn't be afraid of it. we should be willing to try. We should be willing to explore because that's how humanity has evolved and grown. That's how we've gotten stronger and better and smarter over time. We're willing to try, we're willing to test, we're willing to explore. And I think that tools like AI, here's what I hope AI does. I hope AI does a lot of things, but here's one thing that I hope AI does, that it allows teachers to focus even more on instruction, that it allows certain duties to come off of teachers' plate, that it empowers school leaders to say, you know what? I can actually carve out more time for my teachers to focus even more on their students, to develop stronger relationships with parents, to spend more time individualizing, personalizing, meeting the unique needs of their learners. Imagine if maybe AI can take care of cafeteria duty for us. And I'm teasing, obviously, Joe, but think of the potential of what AI could do that could allow us as humans to even make stronger connections with our students, to make even stronger connections with our communities. Look at time is such a challenge for teachers. Teachers never have enough time. But imagine if AI can help solve for some of that. And I really believe it can, because what we want is more teachers. What we want is more people involved in our students' lives. We want more support for our communities, more support for our children, more support for their parents. And that's the power of human connection. And I don't see AI as a negative force in that regards, Joe. Maybe it goes back to mindset. I see AI as a tool for us to be super wicked, smart, and creative, to say, hey, how can I use this to allow my teachers to do more of what they do so well already and empower our educators to be closer with their students? So I think AI has tremendous potential.
Here's what AI has to say about your answer.
You're so smart. You're so effing smart.
Wow. I think I'm going to agree with that AI.
I tell you, it's fun to play around with stuff, but seriously, that outlook is important, especially when you're dealing with faculty and teachers and those that like to do things in a certain way, and having to adopt new technology, no matter what technology, can be hard for us. There is a thing, and you know this, institutional inertia that prevents change from taking place. I'm going to ask you when you come back for our subscriber-only episode about your leadership philosophy that keeps your business moving. But before I get to that, I want to ask you, for a general audience, what else do you want to say about Moreland University? Maybe that we haven't covered, anything you want to reveal or discuss or make a point about. Take a couple of minutes. Open mic for you, Susanne.
Oh, that's awesome, Joe. Thank you so much. A couple points that I want to make for anybody that's listening. I think higher education is at a pivotal time. We need to be focused on the career workforce, the career pathway. We need to be supporting people who come and enroll in our organizations and helping them think about their future and their lives. So at Moreland, we are going to make sure that you are in a class of no more than 8 to 15 individuals, adults in a small environment in which you're working very closely with your faculty members. So you're going to get a high degree of engagement. You're going to get well said. You're going to get a very immersive experience. You're going to get a lot of time, face time with your faculty member who's going to help you think about your career, who's going to help you think about honing your skills, who's going to help you feel really successful in your job. So that they're going to help you feel like you have a personalized learning experience. So small cohorts working directly with their faculty. The other thing I love about our model at Moreland, Joe, is that we actually create cohorts of educators that stay together through the lifetime of their program.
That's so rare and important. That's awesome.
Yes, I love it that you know that, Joe. You know, when you walk into a classroom for the first time as an adult learner, it feels a little intimidating. You probably don't know any people in the room.
Yep.
You you're going back to school as an adult. You maybe haven't been in school in a long time. Imagine an environment where there's only 8 to 15 people, and you're going to create such strong professional relationships with each other. We foster a professional learning community environment. So you're able to be genuine. You're able to be authentic. You're able to say, I'm struggling with this in my classroom right now. Can I get some ideas? People share with each other dynamically. The power of adults working together, learning and sharing. That's a real differentiator at Moreland. And I think it builds a level of trust and it builds a level of confidence, because confidence is rooted in your ability to try something and your ability to, like, say, whoopsie, I totally failed at that. But you know what? I'm going to pull myself back up with the help of my colleagues, and I'm going to try again. And that's what builds your confidence. And when at Moreland, you learn an environment of adults that are really focused on developing those relationships. There is nothing that beats the power of human connection. When you know you feel safe and you feel confident to reach out to a colleague to struggle through a problem you're having in your classroom or something you don't understand, that's the best environment that adults can learn. So you're going to learn to be super tech savvy, you're going to learn to be super creative, and you're learning within a professional community. So you're going to feel supported, not just by your faculty, but by your classmates and your colleagues. You're going to feel supported by your program advisor, because you will have a dedicated program advisor that's helping you with, gosh, what do I have to do to actually apply for this teaching license?
Yeah.
What documents do I need? What tests do I have to take? How do I prepare for the test? What state portal do I have to submit all my paperwork to in order to follow the process to correctly get that license? You talked earlier, Joe, about compliance and regulatory and policy. Getting a teaching license is riddled with a lot of compliance, a lot of regulation. But when you
in multiple states, and every state can be different.
Absolutely. They're all different. But when you have someone who's a cheerleader and a sponsor for you at Moreland University, we're going to help you unpack that complexity, and we're going to help you lay it out step by step so that you feel really clear and really confident to meet the goal. Because your goal is, you want to be a certified teacher, or you want to get your master's degree. You want to feel inspired and confident and knowledgeable in your career path. Maybe you want to climb the career ladder. Yeah. Maybe you want to try to become an administrator, try to become an instructional coach. So at Moreland, we really believe in supporting you in your career pathway. Our alumni network is vast, so we have people supporting each other long after they've graduated. Our alumni are critically important people because they're helping us to foster a renewed sense of inspiration, hope, and excitement about the power and the importance of education.
You know, one of the huge benefits of a traveling cohort model where they're all moving together is the and she's already enrolling. And if I don't enroll, then I'm not going to have Jane's support, and maybe I'm not going to be in the same cohort again, and maybe I'm going to miss my chance to continue on with these great people. And we know how important community is, especially in the online environment. You have to develop community. Now, there are some learners that are just fine and they can do it completely asynchronous on their own and never talk to anybody and sail through it. But for most students, that community is a huge value proposition, especially for an adult learner that's coming back after 15, 20 years, doesn't even remember how to create a thesis statement. You have to have those resources, and the student resource mentor part of it is a huge piece to retention. And it is retention that helps us with our revenue model in a time where enrollment can be a little bit tougher. So I just wanted to call that out because we're all concerned with retention. Sometimes it's the educational model itself that facilitates better retention, and there's only so much you can do from making phone calls. Sometimes it's the model that you have to work on. At Lucian Live 2025, we're going to explore the magic of innovation. We want to imagine, believe, and achieve. It's happening April 6th through 9th, 2025 in Orlando, Florida, and we're going to explore technology, modernization, and
artificial intelligence.
Explore the latest technology solutions, discover industry insights, and make valuable connections as a global community. It's time to register for Ellucian Live 2025 at elive.ellucian.com.
Did you buy your tickets yet? Higher Education's first podcast conference is coming July 12th. Go to higheredpodcon.com, higheredpodcon.com. Get your tickets. Do you want to accelerate your professional development? Do you want to get exclusive early access to ad-free episodes, extended episodes, bonus episodes, original content? That's right, original content, invites to special events, and more? Do you want to get all this while helping to sustain EdUp? Then go to edupexperience.com. That's EDUP experience.com and subscribe today.
Think about, Joe, the brilliant parallel you just made to the actual job of being a teacher.
Yeah.
It can be a little isolating. You walk into your classroom, you close your door, and you might be the only adult in that classroom. So it can feel a little lonely. But imagine if you have come through a learning experience where you understand the power of collaborating, connecting, sharing. Imagine if you come into a school as a graduate of Moreland, you know you want to create a network. You know you want to collaborate with your other 5th grade teachers or your other 11th grade teachers or your other science experts across the district. You get excited about creating those networks. And those networks in our school systems are so important. They're important for parents, they're important for our students, but they're important for the educators to feel like we've got a lot of great ideas. When we put our heads together, we can solve any dilemma that faces us in our school system.
Well, Susanne, thanks for agreeing to stay on for a subscriber-only episode. We're going to get to that in just a second, but I want to outro you properly. To the general audience here, everyone, this has been an excellent conversation with a very passionate higher education administrator doing great work serving students at Moreland University. Here she is, Dr. Susanne Thompson. She's president at Moreland University. Look them up. Follow their work. Partnerships are key. So if you want to partner with a great institution, contact Susanne. She's not hard to find. LinkedIn and her institutional website. Ladies and gentlemen, you've just ed up.